All right, let's try this again. Um, Make sure I'm not muted this time. Welcome back to the Rebel Daily Drive. Uh, UNLV survives, and North Dakota State arrives. What's up, everybody? My name is Mike. We have a big show today. We're going to start with UNLV surviving San Jose State last night. At the Thompson Mack Center, 82-75. And yes, it got tied again. Then we're going to bring in Jacob from the Bison Wire to talk about North Dakota State joining the Mountain West Conference in a football-only capacity in 2020, starting this year, 2026. Then we're going to dive into a little bit of the conversation of money, NIL, and whether North Dakota State can actually scale this thing. And yeah, let's get into it. Last night was a vintage 2026 UNLV Runner Rebel basketball game. Good, the messy, the late game tension, and just enough composure to close it out. I don't know what that noise is. Anyways, um, yeah, sorry. It was the good, the messy, late game tension. What the hell? Is it all right? Is it me or is it playing background noise? What is going on here? I don't know why my stream is acting so janky today. Anyways, go from there. I don't know what's going on. It's been one of those days. Sorry, girlie, don't cry. In case you guys hear baby crying, sorry, my daughter's right next to me. I'm on daddy duty as well. But anyways, last night it was the good, the messy, the late game tension, and just enough composure for UNLV to close it out. UNLV won 82-75 over San Jose State. Again, it was another masterclass performance by Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. He had 24 points, 5 assists, played all 40 minutes. Kamani Hamilton had a season high 23 points along with 10 rebounds. And the headline that mattered most after the game, Kamani stayed on the floor. He did not get in foul trouble. Pastor mentioned post-game that he basically begged him, not even just for the team, just for his own sake, because his parents were in town, who flew in from Mississippi to watch him play. Hamilton came into last night having fouled out in 4 of his last 6 games, including the final minutes at Fresno. He was limited to 19 minutes versus Grand Canyon because of that foul trouble. But last night, he only had 3 fouls, and he was just absolutely awesome. He had near flawless efficiency. He hit his first 5 shots. He drilled his first 3 3-pointers. He was 8 out of 9 from the free throw line. And that's the thing. When Hamilton is on the floor, UNLV is just a better team. They're just more complete. Now to the game itself. UNLV controlled it for long stretches. They led basically the entire night, pushed it to 13 in the middle of the second half. It was 70-56 with 70-57 with 8:56 to go in the second half. And that's where we thought, is it going to be one of those things? Is it here we go again? Or is it, okay, this game should be done. This game is over. Except, this game was not done. The ugly window that shows up for UNLV showed up again. San Jose State stayed alive with what we listed at pregame of things that can be with the annoying stuff that they do that travels, the threes, the second chances, and free throws. The Spartans hit 11 threes, grabbed 8, had 18 second chance points, and kept the math alive when even when UNLV was just absolutely dominating them in the paint. UNLV did win the the paint battle last night, 40-14. San Jose even briefly led in the first half after starting ice cold. They missed 8 of their first 9 shots, then hit enough threes to flip the temperature and make this thing become very uncomfortable to the point where we thought, okay, here we go again. And then late, you could just feel the tension and the Thompson Mack tighten again. This season has trained fans to expect chaos in the last 5 minutes, and that's exactly what happened last night. UNLV didn't panic. They made their free throws. They defended down the stretch. They got they got some big rebounds and big plays from Tyron Jones, and they avoided the meltdown and collapse of what exactly happened at Fresno State, and nearly what happened against Grand Canyon as well. This is the growth line that Pastner keeps coming back to. Post game he said that I'm not happy with our record, but we've improved from November to now. We're just a better team, and they're exactly right. They're playing a lot better. Their inconsistencies are still there, but they're still, they are better at team. They're starting to get into a better rhythm, and hopefully they can put things together, try to get past the first round of the Mountain West tournament, which they haven't done since 2014. But right now too, they're also getting healthy. Howie Fleming was Tyron Jones returned last night after missing 3 games. He had 13 points, 3 blocks. 2 of them were really huge down the stretch, and he had 2 thunderous dunks that kept the momentum in UNLV's favor. Howie Fleming did return last night after missing the GCU game. I asked Pastner post game, he only played 4 minutes and 56 seconds. I asked him, was it more due to his ankle or was it due to just the flow of the game and how he played? And Pastner said it was more to the flow of his game, not his ankle, but did mention that Howie did not practice for the 3 practices before Grand Canyon, did not play in Grand Canyon, and missed the practice before last night's game against San Jose. So he'd been out for basically 6 days with no practice and missed practice time. So Pastner didn't want to force it and rush him back. But him getting back in the flow really helped UNLV last night. Should be big momentum, which leads into they have a massive game Friday night, which ironically might be the very last time that UNLV plays in Boise for basketball's sake. UNLV travels to Boise State for a Friday night 7 p.m. tip on Fox Sports 1. A win clinches the season tiebreaker over Boise and keeps UNLV right now floating in that position to be in the top 6, which ironically, with how much of a disaster roller coaster this season may be considered to some people, they were picked 6 in the preseason, even with the potential of Miles Shea and Lodgy. So they're positioning to be right where they were expected to be, and keeps them in that conversation to be potentially not have to play that first round game. Or get a decent, more comparable opponent for that second round game in the Mountain West tournament. The funny joke that Pastner made post game was with how Hamilton played. Maybe that somebody should throw out there an NIL deal to get with an airline and a hotel to get his parents out every game. If he's going to play like that, I'm going to back Pastner with that 100%. But yeah, that's where we're at. UNLV survived again. But surviving matters when you're trying to turn a volatile season into something that's repeatable and Pastner can build on next year. And I think that, they're taking the right steps. They're going the right direction, and they're going to have to continue this momentum. That's 2 good wins in a row. Let's see if they can stack it into 3. They have a lot of quad 1 games coming up as well. They still have another game with Reno, with Boise. They have a rematch with San Diego State. They play Grand Canyon again. There's a lot more opportunities for this team. So if they can put something together, get themselves in a good position to go into the NCAA tournament, you want to be peaking at this time in March. You want to be healthy this time in March. So let's see if Pastner can get them and be able to do that. All right, backing off of basketball a little bit. Let's zoom out. Let's take the lens. While UNLV basketball is still trying to stabilize, like we were just talking about, there's been a new added Mountain West brand for football that's been dominating the FCS for the last 15 seasons, and that's North Dakota State. Winners of the 10 of the last 15 FCS national championships. They're joining the Mountain West in a football capacity only, with the door open for them to become full-time members in the future, starting in 2026. So joining me now is Jacob from the Bison Wire. Jacob, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Tell fans a little bit about you and about your page and everything
Yeah.
that you have going on.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm actually a student at NDSU currently. But I started this page in the fall. I have a super love for talking about football and sports and all that. And one day a family member said, you should just start posting what you think and news and anything like that because I know you love to do that, so I kinda got into it. It's blown up over the past week because I made some pretty insane posts because I had some information on the move, and it's been a real ride, though. This November, I started posting with the playoffs and everything, so, yeah, that's just kind of about me, and I look forward to growing the platform.
What kind of I guess you said you kind of got tipped off about it before it happened. What kind of led you to, putting it out there that this move was coming? Because ironically, I have a funny story. One of the reporters last night who covered UNLV, she was covering Oregon at the time when
Okay.
she was in college, kind of similar to you, and she mentioned to me that she she uh she got tipped off that Oregon was going to the Big 12 or Big 10, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
because their mascot posted a picture with Ohio State's mascot just out of the blue. And their mascot doesn't do that.
Yeah, so it was kind of a weird situation. I have a few friends that are somewhat related to the football team. I won't expose who they are, of course, but and I got that information that there was going to be a team meeting on Monday at 7 a.m. So that kind of just confirmed everyone's thoughts and rumors about the possible move. And they actually moved up the team meeting to Saturday, which is sad, but just getting that information was kind of a cool thing, and getting that out to people was cool. Especially afterwards, seeing local media saying, "Oh, this is confirmed," and requoting that post was definitely an
That's
experience.
all. That's awesome. Me and you kind of have a similar background. I'm not a student. I'm an alum from UNLV,
Mhm.
but we kind of started our platforms in the same way. Of I actually, I tweeted a lot about UNLV from my own account. Didn't really have a social media platform. I had a basketball alum reach out to me, mentioning that I should start writing my stuff. And I started my platform back in April of last year, right after they hired Dan Mullen. So
Awesome, man.
I was in a great
That's
spot. So if you need
amazing.
anything before we dive into stuff, just don't hesitate. And like I think you've talked to Jason too. Jason does a great job of
Yep.
covering UNLV, and he kind of does the same thing. He's not. I went the credentialed media route, and he does it more for the fan purpose, which is nothing wrong with that. And
Mhm.
that's I think as much I don't know what the media coverage is like up there covering North Dakota State, but UNLV needs as much media coverage as they can get, especially in the Mountain
Of
West
course.
market. So that's kind of why I do what I do. But Jacob, let's talk about a little bit the history and identity of
Mhm.
what North Dakota State football program is. Obviously, everybody knows what's been put out there, the national championships and the 90% winning percentage. But for the Mountain West fans that may not know what the structure is or how North Dakota State is built, give us a quick history lesson about North Dakota State.
Sure. So honestly, I think this whole run that we've seen and success goes way back to, I'd say, 2011, even before that. The first national championship year, and even the year before when we lost to Eastern Washington in the playoffs. Um, it's Craig Bull. Craig Bull was the whole start of this thing. And the huge thing with NDSU is the push to work as a team and be together as one. Um, I just think the mentality that the football team has is just a winning mentality, and they've proven it every single year since that first championship, and beforehand, even moving up to Division One. Another big thing on that is the FBS championship or FBS wins. NDSU was 9-5 during their time as FCS and an FCS team, and they had wins over 12 ranked or 13 ranked Iowa, K State, which I think was Big 10 or Big 12 champions. Um, had a close game against Colorado. Even I just think that's one
That
of the
was
biggest
Dion's
things.
first year
I think
or
that
second
was
year.
his second year, but NDSU was playing people like um, sorry, I'm blanking. Shadura Sanders, of course, was playing in that game. Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter did have like 2 touchdowns and 250 yards or something like that. But what do you expect when you play a player like that? But NDSU kept that game close. I think NDSU's biggest thing that they push is never giving up in those hard moments. So and then one thing, like with this whole move, is beforehand we had um, a $54 million Shields indoor facility made, and I think all of these changes have allowed us to advance our program and keep moving forward and being dominant. So that's the whole bit, I'd say.
What would you say kind of made JMU won a national championship and then moved up. Sam Houston did the same thing. Oh, lost you for a second there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there.
JMU moved one under Signetti, won a national
Mhm.
championship at uh, at the FCS level, and then they had Sam Houston won as well. They both moved up. But what kind of separated North Dakota State's program from the average FCS power, and why was it so sustainable?
Um, for me, it's just the environment that they put players in, as well as the coaches. There's a higher level of thinking and what they want to hit as their goals. And I know every single year, Coach Paulsek did it, Entz, Kleiman, Bowl, all of them, uh, just put this mindset into them about what Bison pride is and just push the team forward. I think for the most part, you just gotta be one as a team. So yeah.
Would you say that they're probably, if they were going to have a Mountain West rival right off the bat, it's probably going to be the Bowl with Wyoming?
I've heard that a lot. I do think that is a possibility, but my whole thing on rivalries is they're gonna come naturally. So I just am excited to see it naturally. I don't want to force the bowl yet, but would be pretty cool.
I mean, UNLV's rival is Reno.
Mhm.
That's the battle for Nevada.
Yep.
But there's been a budding rivalry. I mean, I wouldn't call it a rivalry until I guess UNLV beats them. But the budding rivalry between UNLV and Boise, they played in the last 3 seasons. They played each other 5 times. Yeah, 5 times, and 3 of those were for the Mountain West Championship. So it's kind of Boise went 5-0 against UNLV, so I wouldn't call it a rivalry yet.
Yeah.
But like you said, those things just kind of come natural, and that rivalry was kind of built between UNLV and Boise. But I guess
100%.
we'll move on to a little bit to why did this move happen now? I mean, this move has been rumored for years. What made this the moment that the talk started to intensify?
So my thought on it is everything just finally aligned. Especially money wise, I think significantly we have not been able to fit in financially on that end of things. Um, Obviously, the buy in is pretty hefty, so that's a big worry, and that was a huge thing. I also think there's other factors, such as with the Mountain West itself, losing teams like Boise and Fresno. Um, there was kind of a need from the Mountain West to go and grab a team from the FCS. Um, Also, it's just accumulated with all the fans. I guess this is the sentiment that I've reached with all the fans is we were very bored with winning and winning and winning and winning. Attendance had been down significantly um, over the past few years, even though we were still competing for national championships. I think it was just a very important time for the whole fan base to get some more energy. Um,
Do
so
you
yeah,
think that, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but do you
no, you're
think
good.
that there, with that, do you think with the, I put out a thing yet? Sorry, my baby. Do you think that they're going to make renovations to the Fargo Dome? Considering, where the Hawaii's listed at 15,000 right now, but they're building a brand new stadium.
Mhm,
So if you take them out, the North Dakota State will have the smallest stadium in the conference.
mhm.
So where do you think they go in that route?
Um, Honestly, not sure. The past two times a bill has gone through the city of Fargo to update the Fargo Dome, it has failed. I know last time it was only by a few percent, so it wasn't as crazy as the time before, but I think this is the move that makes the city of Fargo and voters in Fargo actually vote for that. So I'm I'm cautiously optimistic that there's going to be some updates to the Fargo Dome. I would think I don't see a whole tear down of the Fargo Dome happening. I see more seats being added in the corners where there's empty space though. So,
I see that. I think too. If you mentioned the fan base is bored a little bit, they're not
mhm.
going to push for something new. Now maybe that FBS push is going to get them to where they need to be. Um, what do you what about this opportunity? Do you think for the Mountain West is fitting for what they're trying to do? And where do you how quickly do you think they can be able to compete with inside the Mountain West, just based off the talent on the field, not necessarily the money side?
So how can NDSU compete, or how is this good for the Mountain West?
Both, I guess you can say.
Both.
How
Okay.
do you think North Dakota State will compete? Because obviously you're going to have, with those schools leaving and
Mhm.
UNLV being in the Mountain West Championship the last 3 years, UNLV is going to be them and New Mexico are going to be the two favorites in the conference next year. Where do you think they're going to stack up with that, and where do you think they'll compete overall?
See, if it were my prediction, I'm saying they'll finish top four somewhere. Um, it's a little bold, but that's my
I
thought.
I don't think it's bold. I mean, I did a way too early power ranking when it was announced, and I put them at number 4. So
Yeah, I'd say them at four. I think when it comes to the Mountain West and what the Mountain West is trying to do, I just think everyone wants to see growth and see competition within the Mountain West. From what I've been seeing from various different people that are fans of different teams or media, they've been wanting to see some more higher level competition. So I think NDSU brings that to the table.
So let's talk about how they play on the field a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of Mountain West is spread pistol. Dan Mullen's West Coast offense, but on film, North Dakota State's they play different. They are two tight ends, fullback, quarterback under center, old school
Mm.
power football. How is that going to translate to the Mountain West?
So I'm I'm particularly skeptical on how this is going to actually go down. Um, I do worry about how fast those linebackers are on Mountain West defenses and those fronts. That if this running game is actually going to persist, so that's what I'm skeptical about. However, I do think NDSU scheme wise has done fairly well against certain teams. So, but especially at the FBS level, if I'm just seeing the ways that we've competed that way, I think it's possible that it works out, although I think there's going to be some changing to the playbook.
I guess, do you think that the success was there against those FBS teams because there wasn't weeks to prepare for it like there may be in a conference?
Yeah, I these were usually like week 0 games, so they had whole summers to prepare for these games. So having to go in each week and having to compete with teams that you're going to see year in and year out now, I think that might bring some difficulty for NDSU. However, on the defensive side, um, I'm not necessarily worried with Code Green, as they call them.
Let's talk about a little bit about the elephant in the room, and that's the money. The money debate. There's so many money debates out there on Twitter. Uh,
Mhm.
NDSU's revenue for their athletic department was around 30 million last year. Uh, Most Mountain West schools are in the 50s. They're also paying 17 million to make the jump. How real is that resource gap, and what is NDSU prepared to scale its budget, especially with NIL, to compete
Mhm.
at the FBS level?
So yeah, that is a fairly large difference. I know the other day Matt Larson said that they're committed to doubling the football budget. So just football alone is going to have that budget doubled. But then again, you're also wondering about that revenue. You can't really make a budget without revenue and making that income. Uh,
To be fair, for UNLV, you can. UNLV ran a $27 million deficit last year, so it is possible.
I just would hope that the NDSU athletics administration would be somewhat fiscally smart with it, but we'll see.
Yeah, because then I think in the piece, the if I remember correctly, in the piece I wrote today, their budget's about 7.5, and for example,
Yep.
UNLV's was a little bit over 17, and the average for
Mhm.
the Mountain West was about 14. So doubling that probably puts them in the right, in the middle, in the right spot.
And I mean, even on top of that, I know this move has actually caused many donors to join in and try to contribute. I know it was reported on today that there is possibly 25 million tentatively pledged towards team makers, which will go towards the athletics.
I guess before we talk about more about the NIL and the donor base, what do you think? How do you think they're going to recruit now? I mean, recruiting is pretty much almost done, and they have a bunch of scholarships to fill. How is that talent gap going to be there? And what are they going to do that way?
That's another thing I'm a little worried about. This year was very heavily recruiting on defense. I would say that's going to be a big struggle. Um, they're either going to have to find guys through the transfer portal, which that's kind of empty right now too. So everyone's already found their spot usually by now. Um, yeah, it's finding those North Dakota boys, I think, is the big thing too. Finding those Midwest guys that don't have offers but seemingly could be developed into decent players.
Let's talk about the donor stuff real quick. There, like, yeah, I know you've seen. There's been debates of if they can raise enough money. Not trying to compete with say UNLV off the bat. UNLV is the highest NIL in the Mountain West. That's
Mhm.
remaining. But with schools like Wyoming and San Jose and Reno, what are you hearing? Is the donor base on the NIL side aligned on this? Because obviously you mentioned the 25 million.
Yeah, so I know in the past few days they have actually put together a NIL campaign called "Climb the Mountain." Um, there's been a lot of push by that by administration, and from what I've been seeing, that's been received very positively. Um, I just worry about sustained donations. I don't know how well that's going to go. getting those donations that are yearly or monthly is going to be a question in keeping up that NIL and making sure those pairs are played.
Sorry,
No, you're all good.
my daughter. So you mentioned a little bit. You think they're going to slot in at number 4. The SP Plus, which ESPN uses, and obviously was a very controversial metric in the Mountain West last year. As I don't know if you know much what happened in Mountain West football last year. There was a 4-way tie for first place, and they went to the ESPN metrics and rankings to determine that tiebreaker because every team did not play each other. So that worked out where New Mexico and Boise had beaten UNLV head to head, but the fourth team that was tied with them was San Diego State, and they didn't play each other. And then New Mexico beat San Diego State, but lost to Boise, and Boise beat New Mexico, UNLV, and San Diego State, lost to San Diego State, beat New Mexico and UNLV. UNLV went 0-2, but they were the highest ranked team, and they got into the Mountain West Championship. So that ranking had North Dakota State ranked 65th, which would have been near to the top of what the Mountain West was last year. Knowing that, and knowing the FCS teams they played, and that transition with the FBS will be, do you think competing for is realistic?
I think year one is really a test year. To say it's realistic, yes. I think we've shown that we can compete on a high level every single year, in and out. I do worry about obviously tying back into NIL and donor base and keeping certain guys around. I think that's gonna be a struggle in keeping us in that top of the leaderboard there and keeping those guys.
I guess you mentioned keeping guys around. What has that been like with the transfer portal? Have a lot of bigger schools tried to come in and poach players, or has he been able to keep a continuity build?
For the most part, I've seen an okay amount of guys, or a decent amount of guys, staying around. There was a few hard-hitting ones that had left during the transfer portal before we joined FBS. I know we lost a lineman to Vanderbilt. We lost a corner to UCF, and we kind of lost a lot on defense this year. So I think that's a little bit of a worry when we move up, but also I think we have more scholarships that may also help us compete a little better.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Like UNLV standpoint was like Odom came in year 1, they had 65 new players. Year 2, they had 56 new players. Dan Mullen comes in last year. They only had 2 returning starters last year, and they went 10-4 and made the Mountain West Championship. So this year he was able to lock in guys, and I think they brought in 26 recruits, 18 transfers, and they only lost 18 guys to the portal. So he was able to create that continuity. And I think if you have somebody, you're able to get that NIL to where you need it to be, you're going to be able to compete and be able to be there year in and year out. Before we talk about this last topic, what team, or is there an environment that you want to go and see? And what do you think the best place to play is going to be for them to play is in the Mountain West? And how well is the fan base going to travel?
Sure. For me personally, I want to go to Vegas. I think Vegas sounds fun. I just don't know if that's going to be the main one that people are super happy about. I think a lot of NDSU fans are like, oh, we get to travel to Hawaii now. That's a big spark in their heads because today I think it was 26 degrees out. So people want to go places warm, and That's a huge thing. But they will travel real good. They will travel super good. I was actually at the Colorado game 2 years ago in the fall, and we had a real good contingent there. Probably, I'd say 3 to 4 thousand fans that showed up for that game. So I'd say real good.
Yeah, it's been interesting with like the Vegas aspect of things because a lot of fans from opposing teams want to come here. You
Mhm.
know, a couple years ago when Boise had Ashton Genty and UNLV played Boise, there was 43,000 at that game, which ironically still does not fill Allegiant.
Yeah.
Allegiant holds 65, or the
Yeah.
capacity listed is 65, but it's more realistically probably 62. Um, that game was probably 60-40. I know when UNLV first moved into Allegiant, they played Iowa State. There's
Mhm.
30 over 30,000 fans there, and probably
Phew.
20 of them were Iowa State fans.
Yeah.
Like even when they played Syracuse that same season, they played Boise
Mhm.
here, and that game had like 35 at it, I think, and there was probably 10,000 Syracuse fans. Like people want to come here. It's a Allegiant Stadium's beautiful, and it's a great football environment. UNLV, for this, last year they were number 2 in the conference, I think, in attendance, or right around there, number 3, right behind Fresno and Boise. They averaged about 32,000 fans.
Ooh.
The year before that, they were at about 35 when they were ranked and in the CFP conversation. So it's a really good environment, and when
Awesome.
the opposing fans travel, it can get,
It's a
we've had
fun time.
it can be, it's fun, and they're going to try to sell. He has some good home games this year. They play, obviously we don't know conference yet, but
Yeah.
the one we know for sure is they're going to play Reno, and Reno's coming here.
Mhm.
But they open with Memphis week 0. They play UNT week 1,
Okay.
or their second non-conference game. They play That's on the road. They play at Akron, and then they play Cal in Vegas. So they already have some good games, 4 good games right
Mhm.
off the bat, and there's gonna be a lot of hype around this team. I mean, just so you give a little context, Mullen did his state of UNLV last week, and he said that they were disappointed with 10 wins, and losing their bowl game was not enough. And they got embarrassed in their bowl game. They just didn't play well at all
That's
against
I
Ohio.
mean, that's the type of coach you want, though. You want a coach that is disappointed with 10 wins. You want him to go win a
I don't
bowl
know how
game.
much you know about UNLV's football history, but last year was the first time in school history they won back-to-back 10 win seasons. Uh, they've won 30 games over the last 3 years, and that's the best stretch in school history.
Yeah.
I'm 29 years old, and prior to when Barry Odom took over in 2023, they'd only made 4 bowl games in my lifetime. So this stretch has been, they started investing money in the football and moved into Allegiant Stadium in 2020. They got a
Mhm.
$30 million practice facility on campus, and they just really revamped and invested in the football. And then all of a sudden, they hired the right coach, and it's taken off from there.
So it
Uh,
works.
so I think that could happen with North Dakota State. You just got a
Mhm.
$50 million practice facility. You
Yep.
move in, you upgrade Fargo, or you get a new stadium at some point and get the investment, and that takes off from there. I guess our last topic before I let you
Mhm.
go is what do you feel is the biggest adjustment and the biggest unknown into this? Is it going to be depth? Is it going to be travel? Is it going to be able to retain your coaches? What's going to be like kind of that real stressor and the stress test, like you said, if year one's that stress or that
Mhm.
test year?
I'd say right off the bat, I think it's depth. Going from 63 to 85 is that's a that's a huge jump. Um, and I think we're gonna struggle for a little bit to fill all of those, I think, and trying to find guys that we want on the roster under scholarship. So I just think we're gonna struggle with that for a bit and finding the right guys for those spots. Also, I think coach retainment is gonna be a struggle. NDSU coaches have always seemed to left for the bigger level. And I know Polisek was rumored for multiple different jobs this year, um, especially up at Oregon State. I know it was rumored possibly Wisconsin even after this year is a rumor. Um, so it's definitely a worry. Although I see our defensive coordinators or our defensive coordinator and our offensive coordinator making fit if they move up into that role. So
Yeah, we UNLV knows that well too well. Odom left after 2 years, and all last season, Dan Mullen was rumored to go everywhere. As soon as Penn State got fired, his name was out there. I think Ole Miss at one point. Arkansas was where he infamously Arkansas news like something like us put out that Dan Mullen's been in talks with Arkansas, and he replied that there's a 0.0 chance he's going to Arkansas on social media. He's a great follow. Like he trolls when he can. Here's a good comment that just popped up about what we're talking about. Difference now is coaches will only leave for P4 jobs, not P6. Much less jobs available on those coaching markets. So that's kind of a good point in a sense of like these coaches. I mean, Entz left to go to USC because that's a Power 4. He got a coordinator job that led to a G. Fresno's a good G6 job. I'm not going to say it's not. You had Odom was the DC at Arkansas before he came to UNLV. You don't really see coaches leave unless it's for a Power 4 at this point. Because there's, with the CFP chance, there's good. You don't have to win your conference to get in there anymore, apparently. So if they go 12-1 and he has a good year and makes a CFP, a G6 is not going to be able to steal him. It's going to be a Power 4. So I think, as long as you boost the salary, I don't know what he makes.
He got boosted actually right before we lost our playoff game. So he got extended through 2028. It was a pretty decent bit of a raise. I'm not sure exactly what it was because they haven't released those terms yet. So yeah, it was fairly recent information.
Base 330.
330.
According to Google, 7-year contract extension, November 2025 through 2033. Significant raise for his previous contract, which had a base of 330, and they increased the resources for his revenue pool. So
did that say that was his previous contract?
That was his previous. So probably somewhere I would assume if it's significant, probably closer to $1 million. I would assume.
Yeah, that's my guess. I think that was a huge thing for him to stay around, and I know Polisek said it a few weeks after our playoff game. He had said that I would hate to be on the other sideline and see NDSU across the field. So
that's saying Jordan posted a comment again. Are the terms out going to be disparity? Mullen makes 3.5, and would Tim maybe? I don't know. I don't think it matters if we're talking salary because Jason Eck only made 1.1 in New Mexico, and I'm going to put Mullen at number 1 as the best coach in the conference because I think he is, but Eck is right there with him. So I don't think it matters how much you make. It's a matter of if the school can keep resources to keep him and keep him away from a Power 4. I know that Oregon State's not a Power 4.
It's a G6, but yeah.
No, you know what I mean? But like Eck was rumored to go to like Oklahoma State and schools like that, and they boosted him from 1.1 to I think 1.7. So, Dan's taken care of at UNLV. That's what makes it hard for these schools to come and steal him. He makes 3.5 with media stuff and incentives, and his staff pool when he was hired. I don't know if they boosted it recently because they didn't extend him, at least not after last year. But because he's at a 5-year deal, his staff pool is 2.2. So he has a good pool to pay his assistants too. So that's why you don't really see a lot of his assistant. He basically brought back the whole coaching staff, and then he hired Shear, who was the DC at UNLV under Barry Odom. He left with Barry to go to Purdue and was the DC at Purdue the last 2 years. He parted ways with Purdue, and he's now back at UNLV as their linebackers coach. So he came back. So they reboosted and revitalized their staff and are able to pay. They don't have a special teams coach right now. He's the only one that left. He went to Florida State.
Okay.
That was the only staff member they left. They kept Paul Gunther, who a lot of fans wanted fired. UNLV's defense was not the greatest last year. They really got better. They really got better towards the end of the season. They really made improvements, but there was a stretch. The first 6 games, they were giving up I think it was 30, 31 points a game. They were scoring 40. They were giving up 31. And every game was, you don't know the other team's going to score. It's just going to you outscore them.
Yep.
I'm looking forward. I want to go to Fargo. I've heard what is the tailgate? I've heard some crazy things about their tailgate environment and what the atmosphere can be. What do you have to say about that kind of stuff? And what should fans expect if Rebel fans or any Mountain West fans who watch watch this podcast expect when they do go to Fargo?
I'd say just expect the North Dakota nice. Everyone is super nice up here. We're gonna welcome you into our tailgate tents. They're gonna offer you free beer. They're gonna offer you free stuff, anything like that. So it'll be a good environment. I'm sure there will be a little back and forth talking at each other a little bit, but not as much as some of these big rivalries we see. It'll be more so nice, and it'll be a good environment to see people for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think you're going to realize that there are a lot of, when you start diving into Mountain West social media, there's a lot of Twitter finger warriors out there that are going to come after you and go back and forth with fans. Our fan base as well, they have a notorious one for that. You'll find out who she is pretty soon. If you talk anything bad about UNLV, you'll find out real quick who she is. And for Rebel fans watching my podcast like they always do,
there's a lot of NDSU.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. But I would say I think this is a great move for the conference. And I mean, if you want to stay on, I don't know how much time you have, but if you want to stay on,
I'm open.
We can kind of talk about the money and versus the machine.
For sure.
I called this segment the money versus the machine conversation.
Yeah.
So it's about the debating that's been going on online. Jason Walker, he's a Utah State reporter. He does great work. Granted, he's part of the Defecting Five. So I love his work, though. Great respect to him. Local UNLV guy, Steve Cofield, put out a video talking about if North Dakota State can compete with NIL, and that's where the conversation, especially about what I wrote about today, got brought up of the revenue. He went more on the revenue side. North Dakota State's is under 30 million. Mountain West is over 50. When James Madison made that jump, they were at 53 million. So I know theirs is different because they charge their students things. I think it's like game day fees and stuff. So they get more money revenue that way. I think that, that is real, how much you spend and how much you invest in your football program. But I think this is where it gets lost. Revenue is not a football budget. Revenue is not an NIL war chest. Revenue is not operational efficiency. Air Force can have a higher department revenue, but they can't use NIL. Yep. So it's all, people look at those things and, Hawaii's and revenue includes all the travel factors that Hawaii has to do. Wyoming's reflect their institutional support like James Madison has. But they're also, I don't know how much you know about what's going on with Wyoming, but Wyoming is also out there that they were upset about the share that they got with the Mountain West. And there were talks that they weren't gonna be able to afford their football budget because of the revenue sharing that their cut was gonna be. Um, but in my opinion, raw totals don't equal football. And what North Dakota State has built isn't on money. It's built on evaluation and development and a quarterback pipeline that's been Carson Wentz and Trey Lance
Mhm.
and Gronkowski's at South Dakota State, but
Banowski, South Dakota State, but same conference.
same
Like,
concept, right?
yeah.
I think that's where people get lost in that kind of stuff. And, it's scheme identity, like we talked about with the offense and power football and how they run, and just a cultural consistency of
Mhm.
what things are. North Dakota State was a machine that got bored. And I put at the very end of this, the question isn't year one. Year one, they'll compete, but the real question is what happens in 3 through 5? Can they create a scale without breaking the formula and foundation that they have built? Because scaling what they're trying to do is harder than actually building what the foundation is. So, what would you say, kind of like about what I was going to talk about with that? What would you think about? What do you think the machine will look like? Is it going to be sustainable? Is it going to be able to go? And if they've already raised 25 million, I can't imagine what it's going to be for NIL in a couple of years, especially if they go, 9-3 the first year in FBS.
Yeah, so also keep in mind that 25 million is donated through our team makers, which also can go through NIL. So we don't know what amount of that is going towards NIL and what is just going to athletics. But honestly, I think our biggest worry is can it can the way we play and the foundation that we set continue? Um, without changing something. I think even with this huge Mountain West change, we have to make some changes. There's going to be a little bit of changes when it comes to, I don't know, let's say, I think there will be a little bit of changes on the play calling. Um, not not anything crazy, but they're gonna still stick to run the ball, but a little more pass in there. Um, But I really just don't think the revenue end of things really affects NDSU. Um, football is like probably the biggest revenue maker for NDSU anyways. So yeah, that's just my simple thoughts on it.
Did you see the what came out today about part of their deal is if the Mountain West plans to offer somebody a full share that they have to, it's the same thing similar to what UC Davis got.
Yep.
UC Davis went in with every other sport but football, but they had to be asked first if they were going to come in first for
Mhm.
football, and UC Davis came out and said they're not ready, so they said no. And that's what, kind of went into that. So now it's that similar deal is now for North Dakota State, where if they want to decide to be a full member, they have to be asked first before the Mount West can go anywhere else.
Yeah. I just think I just think eventually that'll come about. Obviously with the Summit League right now, we're competing well in the Summit League when it comes to basketball on both ends. I I just don't see much of a expansion or growth currently on that. Um, so that's why obviously we wouldn't join as a full member, and that's why we joined as an affiliate currently. I do see it happening down the road. It's just we got to see how this works out first for it to this is kind of our test. This is our biggest sport in athletics. This is our most successful sport in athletics. So I think just got to
Has,
let it play
has,
out.
has there been any talk about who they're going to schedule for non-con yet?
Um there's rumors. I know the other on Monday, um Matt Larson said that they had a meeting with some scheduler guru to get a game down for that, but there has not been anything actually rumored, like they're talking to some school. Um, I know the AD had said that non-con should be out in a couple weeks though, so I would assume they're gonna have a deal done here soon. I know also we're probably going to keep the Citadel on, so we're still gonna have a FCS school on the schedule.
I know Pac-12 needs a lot of non-conference games right now, so you might see a lot of non-conference
Mhm.
games in that aspect. They've been having really bad trouble scheduling schools, and to be honest, that's on them. But
It's true.
they've had a lot of issues where there's still a lot of schools trying to schedule that extra game. So we'll see what happens with that. Um, I think this isn't the old Mountain West. The new league is wide open
Mm.
with UNLV, with Wyoming, Reno, San Jose, Hawaii, Air Force, UTEP, New Mexico, and Northern Illinois. There's no superpower in this league. There's no buzzsaw in this league. Just a league waiting for somebody to take over as that new power. And if you're North Dakota State, I mean, you're not jumping into a nightmarish league. You're jumping into opportunity at this point.
Mhm.
Um, all the talk's going to be UNLV, 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 and once preseason starts, because they're going to be probably the picked favorite to win the league. And that, as they should be, they're the best team that's
It
remaining.
should be. Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. I mean, New Mexico. My way too early rankings were UNLV number 1, New Mexico at number 2. I had Hawaii at number 3, North Dakota State at number 4, Wyoming at 5, San Jose at 6, if I remember correctly. Let me pull it up again so I can see. I just saw a page put it out, so I don't usually do it this early.
Mhm.
But where is it? Fuck, where did I put it? I tweeted it the other day.
I do remember you tweeting it. So.
Yeah, right when that news came out, I put it out because I saw a page put it out. Oh, why can't I find it? People get upset too if you haven't realized that they don't like the fact that UNLV claims Allegiant, but they play in Allegiant Stadium.
I mean, I'd
I don't
claim
know
it if I were
don't know what
living
you want me
there.
to say here. Like they
Claim
play in
it.
it, they pay rent to play in there, and the stadium was built on an agreement that UNLV plays in that stadium.
Mhm.
People don't realize that. Why can't I find it? Holy shit. Been really that many. I've really got that much stuff in my tweets since then. I did tweet a lot last night during basketball. I'm not
You did.
gonna. I do that every game. So, right here. I had UNLV number 1, Hawaii number 2, New Mexico 3, North Dakota State 4, Wyoming 5, San Jose 6, UTEP 7, Reno 8, Northern Illinois 9, and I had Air Force at 10. Air Force is everybody thinks that they're going to bounce back. I thought they were going to bounce back last year, and they bit me in the ass on my prediction on that. So I'm putting them at the bottom this time, and hopefully they are a lot better than that.
Yeah.
Hawaii was picked by ESPN to be the G5 representative in the playoff next year. They have a lot of returning talent. Their quarterback is really good. Timmy Chang runs the run and shoot just like they have always done. And they had a really good bounce back year. They were in conference championship race until they came to Allegiant Stadium, and they got blown out the second to last week of the season by UNLV. That game was ugly quick, and it was Hawaii scored to go up 7-0. And then it was like touchdown, pick 6, touchdown, 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 and it turned into a massacre on a Friday night, and it just eliminated Hawaii. But they basically returned everybody, and then they have a lot of players back. They didn't really lose much in the portal. Yeah, that game was 38-10. It was 24-7 before Hawaii got a late field goal, and then they dominated that game. That was the best I think they played defensively all season. Then they beat the hell out of Reno in the last week of the season. Then they lost the Boise Mountain West Championship.
That just sounds to me like NDSU versus St. Thomas. St. Thomas this end of the season, we beat them. Well, it's a little more different. St. Thomas just moved up to FCS this year. Also actually into the Missouri Valley too, and we beat them 62-7.
Damn.
Yep.
UNLV did not have any games like that this year. I mean, they struggled with the FCS school that they played. That
Who
was
did-
ugly.
Who did UNLV?
They played Idaho State to open the season. They almost lost. They trailed the whole game.
Idaho State's got a good football program too, though. So
No, I'm not knocking Idaho State, but UNLV was a 28-point favorite in that game, and they trailed pretty much the whole game. They won 38-35, but it was Idaho State. They were down 21, I think, at one point. I thought it was going to be as much as I hate saying this, they have the worst loss in Division I history.
UNLV.
I was a freshman at UNLV. It was my first UNLV game as a college student. And they lost to Howard. Howard's a good FCS program. So they were a 49-point favorite. And that was when they had Cam Newton's brother at quarterback. So point spread wise, UNLV is the worst. They lost that game in overtime. So point spread wise, that's the worst loss ever by a Division I team. Yeah, Cam Newton, Brandon Marion, who ended up being UNLV's offensive coordinator under Barry Odom, was the offensive coordinator there. And Cam Newton's brother just went nuts. And I just remember walking out of that game, and I was just like, what just happened? So I thought, oh, okay, so my first game as a college student, that happened. And then my first game as a media member, they almost lost to an FCS school again. I was like, is it me? Am I the problem?
No, I don't think it's you. Well, actually, honestly, I do believe in jinxes. Sometimes when I'm at the game and it's just like the offense isn't doing something right, I'm like, it's because I'm at the game. That's the only reason. You could say the same about even though it was a close game, NDSU losing first round of the FCS playoffs was hurtful.
Illinois State they should have won a national championship.
They were close. Very, very close. They were in the national championship.
They missed the extra. I watched that game. That was one of the most exciting football games I think I've watched in a while.
But I think that also shows you the strength of the Missouri Valley. As much as I love playing opponents in the Missouri Valley, I'm also kind of glad we're out of it and up to bigger and better world. SDSU is gonna probably run that division now, or that conference. So good luck to them.
It would be funny if you guys played Fresno, and you played Wyoming, and you played Bowl, and you play Entz as well.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Fresno scheduling that game.
I bet Entz would be on for that too. I'm sure he'd be super excited.
Kleiman's not coaching anymore, so he couldn't play Kansas State.
Kleiman retired, although I think it's been rumored that he might be an advisor for the team for NDSU.
Sometimes they just don't want to coach with the NIL, not at that level anymore. Anyway.
Yeah, and it was hurting him. He did real well at K-State. I'll give him that. So.
Yeah, he did. He did really well at K-State, and they kind of they had a bad year, I think, and
broke him.
Home and home with Fresno. Hell yeah, do it. I'm all for that.
Home with Fresno, that would be a good lineup.
Yeah, bring Entz back.
I've been seeing a stupid rumor of USC, but I think USC already has a week 1 game or a week 0 game.
Yeah, from what I understand, I don't know who they scheduled, but before UNLV booked Memphis, UNLV reached out to them because UNLV is a home and home with them. That's supposed to start next year, I think. They were trying to move it up a year, from what I heard. I trust my source on that one. I know apparently they talked to Memphis. They talked to Rutgers, who needed a game. They talked to USC, and they talked to, I think it was USF or somebody else. I forget. They were trying to schedule a big boy. They didn't want to play an no offense to the FCS. They didn't want to play an FCS team again.
I don't know why Matt Larson isn't taking the buyout, but I also think, I mean, beating the Citadel, we can do that. That shouldn't be a worry, but you never know. Some of these teams can surprise you in the
After what
FCS.
happened, I think last year with Idaho State, that was a mess. So that game was supposed to be like week 4, and they announced the Canelo Crawford fight, and they booked that fight at Allegiant Stadium, and it was the same. They wanted that fight to be the same day as that football game, so they paid UNLV to move the game to week 0. So they spent the whole offseason prepping for Sam Houston, who they played the following week, and they blew out Sam Houston. But they did not prep for Idaho State, and Idaho State's a better team than what people gave it credit for. And they almost lost, so I don't think they're doing that again. And I think they know too that they need to, obviously for attendance wise and everything else, they need to play, you're going to try to play their better G6s, or you're going to play a lower level P4. And Jordan, I agree with this comment. And it's probably ain't playing them to risk losing.
That is true. I've been seeing some stuff about that. I've been seeing stuff about that too.
I think it came from Boise fans, so I don't trust most Boise fans other than a few sources that I read. They were saying they want to play North Dakota State week 0 in Boise. Welcome them to the FBS, and I was like, I don't know.
I don't know if we'd accept that, but who knows? Matt Larson's got to figure that out with whoever, some national. This is quote for quote what he said: national scheduling guru. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know who that is, but
yeah, I've never heard that. I don't know. I'm sure teams use people, so I'm not saying it like that. I don't think I've ever seen it put out there like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Tell us where we can find you and what your platforms are.
So currently, just on X, and then also just launched the Instagram, just at Bison Wire, and that's my ats on those. Looking to expand to get a website here soon, but still working on some stuff. So,
sorry, I have one more comment. How did we get Arizona State as a home game? A lot of these schedules were been built out for years. Like they played Arizona State. I think it was when Marcus Arroyo was the coach in 2020, 2021, and their comeback game was 2027. It was the same thing with UCLA. That's why UCLA came last year. They played them in 19, I think, and their comeback game was last year. UNLV has a lot of good non-con coming up. They've done a really good job booking out. Like they have a home and home with JMU. They signed that right after JMU made the playoff. I mean, looking at next year, 2027, they have USC on the road, Akron at home, Arizona State at home, and then they go to JMU. 2028, they play Houston and Vegas, and they go to Washington. 2029 is the return game to Memphis. 2030 is they go to Iowa State and James Madison. They have James Madison in Vegas. So a lot of those schedules are done, years ago. So they really, over the next couple of years, at least this year, next year, and 2028. I mean, they have 2 open spots, but they really beefed up their non-con. They know that they need to win those games to get consideration to go to the CFP. And I think, if you go back and look at 2024, the reason why they were ranked, I mean, yeah, they finished 11-3, but they beat Houston on the road. They lost their 3 losses were to Boise twice and to Syracuse. They beat Houston, they beat Houston on the road, they beat Kansas on the road, and they beat Cal in their bowl game. So I mean, that's kind of really when it started was Barry's second. I mean, even Barry's first year, they played an FCS school week 1, but they played Vandy at home. They played another, I forget who it was, but they played another game like that in Vegas. Like it really started kind of back 2023, and it's kind of just continued of like they know and Dan knows like that for them to go be considered for the playoff, if they're sitting there with 1 loss and their 1 loss is to USC, people aren't going to knock that.
I was also going to add NDSU does have 1 non-conference game in the FBS scheduled for 2028. A little worried about that one. Pretty sure we'll lose it. It's against Oregon. So
yeah, but sometimes you just take your lump and get the payday.
That is true.
That's how these that year 2023 they played Bryant. They blew them out. They lost to Michigan, who won the national championship, and they played Vandy in Vegas. And then they went to UTEP and won before UTEP became Mountain West. So like they started that year. They started that basically when Barry got hired because they played Memphis. Michigan. They played Vandy. They got Vandy to come. Like so, it's been years. I mean, it's years in the making of like these schools like scheduling these games so far out. I think let me see. Was 2022? Sorry, I'm going down a rabbit hole. Yeah, 2022. Their non-con was Idaho State, Cal, North Texas, and Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So it's relevant. It's kind of like they know when the CFP started to become really a thing. Back 21, 22, it was 4 teams, so they never had a shot. Then it expanded. They started playing these better schools. Now they're going to continue. The problem is, going back to this, a lot of these schools like ASU are taking games like UNLV, like Boise State off their schedule because they don't want to play them. Indiana is not playing anybody until they play Big Ten play because it doesn't matter. They don't want to risk a loss. So it's going to be harder to schedule games like that. Especially when you have UNLV, for example, who's coming off 3 straight or 30 wins in 3 years. You have a good program like North Dakota State. If they, translate to the D1, their FBS level, like they're not going to want to play schools like that. You're going to get games like Houston, maybe when they're, the bottom tier Big 12, schools like that, they'll take those games. The Mississippi States of the world, the Vanderbilts before they had their good 2-year run that they're on. Schools like that, when they're at the bottom, you're more likely to get an opponent like that. But, North Dakota State's days of like playing Iowa it could be for UNLV too. Like UNLV playing USC, they may never play USC again.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on how good these programs get and how good they build and what kind of reputation they have.
And that's what we hope. We hope the Mountain West gets better.
I think it's going to be a better football league than what people are giving credit for. North Dakota State's going to be good. UNLV's been good. New Mexico made their first bowl game since 2016 and won 10 games last year or 9 games last year. So they're on the upswing. Eck is a hell of a coach. Hawaii's been consistent, 8 wins most years. Air Force is down for the last 2 years, but they won 10 games 3 straight years before that. UTEP, we'll see how that goes. Same thing with NIU. NIU's been good, but they had a really bad year last year. So we'll see how they bounce back. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be, I think people look at it on paper and they look at what happened last year and they see these schools' record. Bowl's going to have Wyoming better. Reno, I don't give a shit what Reno does. They suck. They can lose every game.
Bull retired too.
Huh?
Bull retired too.
Oh yeah, that's right. So they're gonna be better.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Reno, I don't care if they win a game, to be honest. It would be good for the league, but personally, I don't care if they win another game. You'll figure out the more you see these fan bases interact with each other. UNLV and Reno hates each other.
Mm-hmm.
When UNLV was bad,
in-state rivalry.
When UNLV was bad, and they were winning 2 games this season was a success if they beat Reno. They didn't care making about a bowl. Fans didn't really care about making, and they cared about making a bowl game, but not like they can make a bowl game, but if you lost to Reno, the season's a failure.
Mm-hmm.
They tell coaches when they're hired that you cannot call them Nevada. That's not their name. You call them UNR or you call them Reno.
Call them Reno.
Like, that's how seriously like they take it. They don't address them for what they want to be called or what everybody else calls them. So it's very interesting when it comes
So
to
in
that.
media conferences and stuff like that, press conference, they
don't
call them Reno?
People don't call them Nevada. They call them Reno or UNR.
Interesting.
They tell them not to call them Nevada because this is where I get in arguments with people on social media. If you look up Nevada trademarked Nevada, University of Nevada, but if you look up the actual academic website for Reno or for Nevada, it's unr.edu. It's not nevada.edu. And it pops up University of Nevada-Reno.
It is unr.edu.
And then UNLV is University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So that's where like it's not Nevada. Nobody claims it. Only you guys do. But it's great having you on. We'll definitely catch up again once you get. Me and you will stay in contact, obviously, but we'll do another one when it gets closer to football season. Check in, see how things are going up there, see what the adjustments like, and keep in touch. And that's it for us tonight. Thank you for everyone who did tune in, and I appreciate that. Thank you. If you have any for the North Dakota State fans that did follow this, for content purpose, I recommend 4 pages. Paloma, I can't pronounce her last name, but it starts with a V. It's like Valenciana or something like that. Her name is Paloma Fox 5. She does like coaches shows every Sunday with basketball and football on TV. It's a good place to listen to UNLV coaches talk. Steve Cofield, he does the radio show for football and basketball with the color guys for UNLV, and he works for ESPN 100 in Vegas. He's a good follow as well. He puts out a lot of good content. Myself, the Scarlet Standard, I cover football, men's basketball, women's basketball. And then Jason Kelly. Jason I think his name is Jason K. Redline on Twitter. His YouTube is the Let's Run podcast. He's more fan-centric. He talks a lot of things, Mountain West, Pac-12, and, he does talk UNLV, obviously, as well. He's a great follow as well. Any of you North Dakota State fans out there, check me out. Check out my page. Bison Wire as well. Check out their page. And, thank you again for coming on. And as I always end my podcast, go Rebels and bring back our mascot, Hey Reb, please.